Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Aakash Live webinar series. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving us a phenomenal response so far. To watch any of our previous webinars, you can visit the links in the description box below. Also, to never miss an update from Aakash, simply click on the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. So, Iuqm. Before we talk about it, how many of you love mathematics? First of all, cheers to all the mathematics fans out there. And how many of you fear mathematics? Well, don't fear it. Let me tell you, and I'm saying this from a personal experience, mathematics is not to be feared. It is to be practiced. And I'm sure you all have heard the common adage which says practice makes a man perfect. But have you heard practice makes mathematics perfect? Yes, that's right. And no, I haven't invented this on my own, but there are studies that do support this. So welcome to today's session on Indian Olympiad Qualifier in Mathematics, Iuqm, everything you need to know. I am Kumar Chaudhary, your host for the evening, and will be moderating the discussion today. So we are joined here today by a fantastic panelist, and they have been teaching and mentoring students for years. They have worked really hard along with students to help them pursue their dreams and achieve their goal. So let's welcome our first panelist, Mr. Vivek Bhatt, the National Academic Director at Aakash Foundations. Vivek sir is a distinguished mathematics faculty. He has more than 20 years of experience in teaching and mentoring students for engineering entrance exams, school and board exams, NTSE and Olympiads. A very warm welcome, Vivek sir. We are extremely pleased to have you here.
Thank you, ma'am, and good evening, everyone. I'm also equally excited as I'm part of this webinar because when you say how many of you love mathematics, I was so excited. I was just putting my hand up. Yes, I'm in the same category. And yes, practice makes mathematics perfect. That's really great. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Our next panelist is Mr. Amit Kumar Oriti, Senior Assistant Director at Aakash Institute. He is a distinguished mathematics faculty. Amit sir brings with him more than 16 years of experience in teaching and mentoring students for engineering entrance exams like JEE Main and Advanced and also Olympiads. Welcome to the session, Amit sir.
Thank you, Kama madam. Good evening, all students. I'm really honored to be part of this show, and I'm quite confident post this webinar, more students will explore Iupum exam. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. So our final panelist for today's session is Mr. Mohit Ghai, mathematics faculty. I must tell you, he is very popular among students and he has more than 14 years of experience in teaching students and preparing them for engineering entrance exams like JEE Main and Advanced and also Olympiads. A very warm welcome, Mohit sir.
Yeah, very good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, ma'am, for having me on this panel. And I hope this session will be very much fruitful to all the students joining us today.
Yes, sir. So in today's session, we will be talking about the very obvious thing, which is what is Iuqm. We will learn about the benefits of participating in mathematical Olympiads, talk about the preparation tips and exam strategy, and know more about the must-do topics. So as I can see, we have received a lot of questions from many of you who are joining us today. So thank you so much for your questions. And also, if you were not able to, share your questions with us in advance, need not worry. We'll be happy to take your questions live during the webinar. You can share them in the comment section below. So now, without further ado, let's get started with the session. So since we are talking about, Iuqm, I'm sure a lot of you already know about the Mathematical Olympiad program in India. And those who are not aware about it, let me tell you, Mathematical Olympiad program is organized by the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education in collaboration with the National Board for Higher Mathematics of the Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. So what is the main purpose behind conducting these, Olympiads? So it is to, spot mathematical talent among pre-university students in the country. And, this also leads to the participation of Indian students in the International Mathematical Olympiad, IMO. So if you really want to, represent your country at an international level, then, this is the Olympiad program that you should definitely go for. So there are a total of 5 stages here. And the first stage is the Indian Olympiad qualifier in mathematics, Iuqm. And, that's what we are going to talk about today. So Vivek sir, let's begin with the first and the obvious question. What is Iuqm?
Yeah, so with the good introduction about Iuqm, I'm sure that you have given good insight to all the students that who conducts this examination and what is basically the objective. Obviously, we will be taking up these questions further again and again, that what are the objectives and how, it's what kind of difficulty level we face in this examination and so on. Now, basically, when you say the term Iuqm, yes, it is the first stage for this international level. HBCSE, as you rightly mentioned, runs India chapter of Olympiads, be it science or mathematics. And in mathematical part, yes, it's being conducted in association with MTA, the first run. So Iuqm is basically replacing PRMO and RMO. PRMO, that is Pre-Regional Mathematical Olympiad, which used to be there 2 years back. But due to this pandemic, as you know that many of the things have been hampered, systems are changing, even the education structure is changing a lot in India and the worldwide. So yes, these Olympiads have also taken a different shape, and this time again, as conducted last year, Iuqm would be replacing first 2 stages, that is PRMO and RMO, as a mixed one. But there is no change in the pattern, I must say, from PRMO. And yeah, difficulty level, obviously, it would be changing. It would be between the two. It would be conducted on 9th of January. So yes, ample time is there for the students to prepare for this examination. This is Iuqm.
Thank you so much, Vivek sir. So as Vivek sir has explained, Iuqm is now the first stage of Mathematical Olympiad program, which has replaced both PRMO and RMO. But before we move on, Amit sir, there's this common confusion among students regarding the Mathematical Olympiad and Mathematics Olympiad. So could you please shed some light on the same and help our viewers to understand the difference between the two?
Yes, madam. Most of the students do have this confusion of Mathematics Olympiad and Mathematical Olympiad. IMO, International Mathematics Olympiad, is conducted by SOF World Organization, where SOF stands for Science Olympiad Foundation. And it will be conducted for class 1st standard to 12th standard, whereas International Mathematical Olympiad, IMO, is the 5th stage, as said by Vivek sir, wherein the first stage is Iuqm. It will be conducted for class 8th standard to 12th standard. So obviously, Iuqm paper level will be higher than the Mathematics Olympiad. And of course, in the paper pattern also it is different. For example, this Mathematics Olympiad is conducted for 1 hour, whereas Mathematical Olympiad Iuqm is conducted for 3 hours and for about 100 marks. So definitely students should understand this difference and attempt this Iuqm exam.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure our students are now clear about the 2 stages. So students, in today's webinar, we are talking about the first stage of the Mathematical Olympiad program, Iuqm, which is organized by the Mathematics Teachers Association. So Mohit sir, now that we have established the difference between the 2 Olympiad program, let's get back to Iuqm. So what is the exam pattern for Iuqm? Is it same as that of PRMO and RMO since it has replaced both of them, or is there a difference? And what kind of questions are asked? How is the difficulty level in comparison?
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. In context of today's webinar, this is actually a very important question that need to be addressed. And since we all know that as described by both the faculties as well, that Iuqm exam is one of the topmost Olympiads in mathematics in India. So the first thing we should know about the paper pattern. And to answer this query, we should also know how the paper was conducted till 2019 and post-COVID, how the exam pattern changed. Now, till 2019, as Vivek sir already told us, there used to be two stages. One was called the Pre-Regional Mathematical Olympiad, PRMO, and this stage had 30 questions with integer answers from 0 to 99, and this paper was of 102 marks. The students who qualified this stage actually was allowed to sit in the second stage called RMO, Regional Mathematical Olympiad, and it had 6 subjective lengthy questions. Now, because of COVID, as we know, many of the national level exams, take it JEE or NEET, every exam was actually postponed or shifted to another dates. So conduction of these multiple offline exam, it became very difficult. So it was decided that instead of having these two exams, PRM and RMO, we will be having a single exam called Iuqm, which was regarded as the first stage of the 5-stage program leading to IMO. Now, talking about the paper pattern, it is on the similar lines as that of PRMO. It is a 3-hour pen and paper based exam and to be written on the OMR sheet. And it will still have 30 questions with integer answers ranging from 0 to 99. And it will be a little differences there from PRMO, that the marking scheme is restructured. It is of 100 marks now instead of 102 marks, which was earlier. And if we go by the 2021 paper, to be briefing a little bit, 8 questions were there of 2 marks, 13 questions of 3 marks, and 9 questions of 5 marks were there. So this makes a total of 100 marks paper out of 30 questions. And a very important thing which the students should note that for the classes 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, the paper shall be same for all these 5 classes. It's not like that junior classes will have a separate paper or senior classes will have a separate paper. So the preparation strategies for the junior and senior classes has to be a little bit organized. Now, talking about the difficulty level, as said by Vivek sir as well, the difficulty level, since this paper is replacing 2 of our papers, so the difficulty level was in between PRM and RMO. So any student who is actually preparing for Iupum should note that because there's we tend to go wrong, that because we know that Iupum pattern is similar to PRMO, so it might happen that students are solving only the previous year PRMO questions, but they need to attempt the previous year subjective questions of RMO also, because this exam is going to use a lot more of logic along with application. So when you solve both kinds of questions, whether they are from PRMO or RMO, you get to know what kind of questions are actually asked in the final examination of Iupum.
Thank you, sir. Since we are talking about the exam pattern over here, we have got a live questions from Manuel. Manuel is asking, is the Olympiad objective and subjective?
Yeah, when you talk about this examination Iupum, this is integer type, as Mohit sir mentioned. It includes 00 to 99. So students have to write that term 00 to 99. That's the answer. It's not there are 4 options given in this question paper, right? So pattern is integer type 00 to 99. That's what they have to mark.
And there is no negative marking also.
Yeah, and there is no negative marking because you have multiple marks for different questions, 2, 3, and 5 respectively, and there is no negative marking. Yeah.
Sir, we also have another question. Amit sir, Vishali is asking, what is the eligibility for Iuqm?
So all the class 8 studying to 12th standard students can appear in this Iupum exam. As Mohit sir has rightly said, this paper is remained same for all these standards. So it will be including the syllabus of 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th.
Thank you, sir. Students, as Mohit sir and Amit sir has pointed out, all 8th onwards, 8 to 12 students can appear for this exam. And this Iuqm will be a combination of both PRMO and RMO. It has replaced both of them, and it will be a 3-hour pen and paper exam with a total of 30 questions. So Vivek sir, as Mohit sir has shared with us, the difficulty level of Iuqm will be somewhere between PRMO and RMO. But what about the syllabus? A lot of queries are coming regarding the syllabus. Students want to know that if they have to prepare the syllabus for both PRMO and RMO, since Iuqm has replaced the two, or is there a new syllabus? Maybe a combination of both.
See, was the examination with the name PRMO, RMO. Now it is with the name of Iuqm. It has not made any difference on the syllabus segment. When you talk about the syllabus, as other two, that is Amit sir and Mohit sir, have clearly mentioned, from 8th through 12th, the same paper is there. So what is the objective of this examination, Iuqm? To search the talent in mathematics, to see the logical ability of the student. So it has different boundary for the syllabus point of view, but obviously different does not mean totally different from what they study in their schooling from 8 to 12. So going specifically in different topics, see, broadly we call like number theory, polynomials, permutation combination, or in broad you can call it combinatorics, algebra, which can include like a quadratic equation and also the polynomials, as I mentioned earlier, geometry. Now, when you take these one as the broader spectrum, smaller one, you can also talk about trigonometry is there. Probability, you can again include in combinatoric segment. So as a whole, when you see these topics and go in detail like number theory, polynomial, PNC, quadratic, geometry, algebra, trigonometry, probability. So where you see these topics varying from 8th to 12th. Geometry segment, you find it is there in 9th and 10th majorly, not in 11th, 12th. But combinatorics you find in 12th and 11th, sorry, you find in 11th majorly. Probability part in 12th majorly, including 11th part as well. So it is a mix of all the classes. Now, how a student of 8th standard can prepare with the syllabus? Is it really in his or her limits? Absolutely, it is there. When you are in 8th or 9th or 10th, say foundation segment, you can definitely extend your boundaries of algebra. You can move on to some part of number theory. You can consider some segments from geometry. If you are in 10th standard, you have studied major segment of geometry and you have to extend the boundaries so that some more theorems can be incorporated in your total toolkit so that you can finally excel well in this examination Iuqm. Just remember one point. Geometry, number theory, these two contribute approx 50% of the entire paper. If you add on algebra, that is polynomial part, quadratic equation part, you will find it's giving a good opportunity to clear this examination to every student. Why should I target for 100 out of 100? I should target what I can excel. So these are broadly topics, and I'm sure every standard students can go through this part. Remember, if 11th and 12th standard students have studied more topics of it, then 9th and 10th students have more time to explore more syllabus, right? So this is about the segment of syllabus.
So Vivek sir, we can conclude here that the syllabus for Iuqm will be same as that of PRMO, but and the difficulty level will be higher between PRMO and RMO, because a lot of students have been asking about the difficulty level, and I hope this will answer their question.
Absolutely.
So we have a live question again with us. So a student, Naren, is talking about, I find difficulty in understanding the concepts in PCM as I'm a state board student. How to manage that? Over to you, Amit sir.
So when we talk about understanding the topics in PCM, first of all, what I would say is, whenever any student is preparing for Olympiad exam, they or any competitive exam, they often concentrate on the separate books that are prescribed for this. But the basic thing is NCERT. If the student is first of all confident in NCERT, try to understand each and every concepts. When we say Olympiad exams, they have higher syllabus. If we look at NCERT, that is the foundation. If once they are working on those NCERT topics, then only they can work on the higher level syllabus. So I would suggest students to completely first concentrate on NCERT, get it explained. It's not like, for example, mathematics only. If I say, So generally they look at it as a formula based. They try to by heart some formula and try to apply it. It's not always that. It is very, very minute things are also very, very important. The conditions behind each and every formula, at what situation it can be applied. So if they try to understand this, maybe theorem, when I use a word theorem, students get panic. A theorem, sir, I don't understand, because they are trying to by heart that theorem or memorize that theorem. Rather, if you prove it on your own, then definitely this confidence level will increase.
And another thing I will add on to Amit sir's point, when you are saying that state board, again, NCERT is giving you CBSE, but state boards also have the similar topics. The names can vary, but it is not different when you take cumulatively any class. So this is the point.
And one more thing we can add here is the students should make sure that every classroom question they solve, they are able to solve them themselves. Because when they are actually preparing, generally बच्चे भूल जाते हैं कि उन्हें अपना जो क्लासरूम का मटेरियल है वही अच्छे से पहले सॉल्व करना आ रहा है कि नहीं. They start solving the books and the classroom material is actually out of their touch then. So that is very much important, that the classroom notes are very much okay with them. They are able to solve the questions they had already done in class as well.
That is actually a very important point to note, that you need to go through your classroom notes as well instead of just flipping through the books. So on that note, there are some topics which are very important with respect to their weightage or marks they carry. And there are others which are also important on many other factors. So Amit sir, can you shed some light or insights into the major important topics that students should prepare well for Iuqm?
Definitely, madam. See, when we look at Iuqm, see, ultimate agenda of every student is to qualify Iuqm and move on to the next stage, INMO. So if you look at the last year cutoffs, for class 8th to 11th, the cutoffs for majorly for all the regions across India was somewhere around 35 to 40 marks. Whereas for class 12th, it was somewhere around 50 to 55 marks. That means across India, if you see students who are securing on an average above 55 or above 60 marks will definitely qualify for the next stage of INMO. Now here, if you see last year, somewhere around 1100 students only could cross this cutoff. So obviously, when we are looking at the paper of 100 marks, as rightly said by Vivek sir, it is very important that we need to concentrate on the important chapters that can ensure that the student will cross the cutoff mark. So in this area, if we look at especially Iuqm paper, which was first time conducted last year, we could identify three major chapters like number theory, geometry, and permutations and combinations. These three chapters, almost the questions were asked around 60 to 70 marks. So definitely when we talk about individually geometry, so students needs to work on geometry of straight lines, triangles, quadrilaterals, circles. All the theorems included in this must be proved by themselves to remember them. Like for example, important theorems are there like Siva's theorem, Ptolemy's theorem, Stewart's theorem. These theorems the student needs to prove by themselves, then only they can remember. Because in Iupum exam, we know that the level of the paper is high. We will not have time to prove everything there and solve the question. It is very important they should remember these theorems or the corollaries. Next, coming to number theory. Number theory questions were asked based on division algorithm, Fermat's little theorem, and Diophantine equations. And Diophantine equations, by sometimes children get panic with the name, but actually if you see the concept of it, it is a simple what you call concept. Similarly, permutations and combinations, though it is a 11th class topic, even class 8th, 9th, 10th students can also attempt this chapter, because it is basically majorly based on logical reasoning with a certain concept. Normally students think that, sir, permutations and combinations without preparation also I can attempt. No, there are certain concepts like linear permutations with or without repetition, circular permutations, combinations and permutations under certain conditions, and problems based on divisors of natural number. So there are certain properties, that are concept involved in this. So if a student can look at these three chapters, I'm 100% sure that they can cross that 60 to 70 marks and can qualify for the next stage of INMO.
So, Amit sir, we can say that students appear aspiring to ace Ioqm. It's important for them to focus on the topics with higher weightage, and doing
Yes.
so will help them greatly in also achieving the cutoff scores.
Yes.
So now that Amit sir has pointed out for us the important areas and the topics that students should prepare for Iuqm. How should students plan their studies to get through the cutoffs, and how much marks should be targeted here?
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. It's another vital question that needs to be answered. But before I answer it, I would also like to add on regarding the cutoffs of previous year exams, as pointed by Amit sir as well. Now we need to understand there are two types of cutoffs in this exam. One is for class 8th to 11th. The four classes have a single cutoff, and class 12th has a different cutoff. The probable reason is if we go by the previous year paper, we will find that there were 16 to 17 questions from class 11th part, and there were 13 to 14 questions from class 8th, 9th, and 10th. So definitely the probability that the syllabus will be completed before the exam is higher for 12th class students. They have a chance of completing the syllabus as compared to 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th have to be little bit choosy among the topics, as sir pointed out right now. So the cutoffs for 12th are little higher. And if we talk about the different cutoffs from the 29 regions across India, the cutoffs for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th was in between 35 to 40. And for 12th, it was between 50 to 55, as pointed by sir as well. So the class 12 students should target a minimum of 60 to 65 cutoff. Reason being, the cutoff from the previous year, if we see, it was higher than that of the previous year. So it's a higher probability that this year also the cutoffs may rise. So students should target at least 8 to 10 marks more than that of the cutoff of the previous year. And on similar lines, if we talk about 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, they should target score around 50. Since their cutoff was around 40, they should target a 50% score by specifically and very strategically choosing the topics, as sir mentioned earlier. And there are plenty of books they can refer as well. There are plenty of books available on the website, on the, or you can say offline mode as well. One of such books, if I name as, is Problem Primer for Olympiads, which is actually very handy for the students of class 8th, 9th, 10th. But it is quite a possibility that in some areas these books are not available or the students don't have the access to these books. But the most important thing above all is they should have access to the previous year question papers. That is very important now for every student, whether he is solving a book or not, whether he is following certain pattern or not, but they should actually solve the previous year problems, both of PRMO as well as RMO. Because as I earlier said, that the paper Iupum is in between PRMO and RMO. So they should keep in mind that when they solve these problems, they get an idea of what kind of questions will be asked in the Iupum exam.
Thank you, sir. And I totally agree with you that solving previous year's papers is very important. We also have a live question over here that is from Lakshmi Priya. She wants to know, is there any study material also which we can, refer to for this apart from books and previous year papers? Mohit, sir?
Yeah, ma'am, as I mentioned, there are plenty of books available. If they go on searching on the website, they will get plenty of material. Every author has written a good book, but we suggest that the previous year papers and any course material which they are following will do. But the most important thing is the previous year papers. If you want to get an idea what kind of questions are asked, as Amit sir also told us about the analysis, that what topics the 8th, 9th, 10th students can choose easily. So they need to follow the previous year pattern. Only then they will learn how to basically apply them in the final exam.
Thank you, sir. So,
in addition to that, madam, in the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education website, they have also prescribed somewhere around 7 books. Okay, like Mohit sir has already discussed one book, and one more book is like Challenge and Thrill of Pre-College Mathematics. Like that, around 7 textbooks were prescribed by the Homi Bhabha Center for Science and Education. So students can refer to the website. Those 7 books, I think, are the primary things. Definitely they can look at it.
Thank you, sir. Also, there is a live question. Since you have mentioned that on Homi Bhabha's site, they can go and look for the books and the other study material. So where will they get the link for the registration for this exam? Is it also there on the website?
Yeah, it is also there. See, when you talk about the registration, as the examination is scheduled on 9th of January, registrations are yet to start. It is to be started from 15th of September. It would be there on the website of MTA website, that is Mathematics Teachers Association website, and they can also get from HBCSE website a link for MTA website, but this is being conducted by MTA, so you will find the registration part from MTA website.
Sir, on another question also over here, will the exam conducted online or offline?
Offline.
Offline. Thank you so much, sir. So now that all of you know Iuqm exam pattern, you also know the syllabus now, you know it will be how it will be conducted, in which mode, and cutoff also has been shared by our experts. So the next and the most important part is now how to prepare for Iuqm. So Vivek sir, Mohit sir has mentioned some books. He has also, emphasized on how previous year papers are very important and students should refer to them. So what are the other things a student can do for preparation? Now that we know Iuqm is the first stage, and we can say it is like the first step, and needless to say, it is a first step that makes the next ones also possible. So could you please share with some preparation tips and exam strategy for Iuqm?
Yeah, sure. First of all, the link they were asking for this MTA, it is there on the chat box itself, which has been shared by you. So students can get it from there. Second, now when Mohit sir and Amit sir was talking about, they were talking about the different topics, particularly, it was clearly giving insight that how they should plan their studies accordingly when they are in different grades, 8 to 12. Mohit sir mentioned that when you are in 12th, you have a better chances of completing the total syllabus because you know more and more things as compared to the 9th grade student. But I will definitely say 12th grade student has another challenge in front, that is JEE. So yes, they have that challenge also in front of them, and they have to prepare equally for that examination as well. So I will always say that 9th and 10th standard students have equal chances of clearing this examination with proper planning and strategy. And what that planning can be, yes, again, I will go to those points specifically which Amit sir was mentioning, like different theorems, how to go for it. They are not supposed to prove during examination. They have to prove all those theorems well in hand, well before this examination, because still if you count, there are 120 days remaining for this examination, at least as per the notification available as on date. So they have to prove it before this examination as many times and have to apply it so that when they go for the final examination, it's on the tips. It's not like they're going to prove it there. Because there are many reference frames. When you start proving a theorem, you will find reference frames that one theorem needs a reference of another, another needs reference of the third one. You cannot spend this much of time during the examination. So you have to go through all those parts here itself. Second, Amit sir mentioned one very beautiful, very important fact. Please do not get feared with the names of different theorems, different terms, whatever coming up in this syllabus segment. Not at all. These are actually simple. When you look at the previous year's papers, as whether it is last year's paper of Iupum or previously available paper of PRM. Also, you can visit to Homi Bhava website, HBCSE website, where you can find previous year's papers of this PRMO and RMO as well, which will also help you to excel in this examination. All question papers and solutions are available on that website itself. You can get it from there. So that will also give you insight that what kind of questions are actually being asked. Those questions need logical thinking, description, analytical approach, that how you actually operate a question in order to get into the depth of that one. And you will observe that the question can be solved in just 2 to 3 minutes. हो सकता है बहुत से क्वेश्चंस ऐसे हों जैसे मैं आपसे कहूं एरिया, हाफ बेस इनटू हाइट, simplest approach, and you will find that many questions are actually having the same approach, nothing different. The only thing is, can you understand the need of the question? And how would you understand that? By practicing more and more similar questions. I will say AMC, American Mathematical Competition, if you can see the question papers of last 10-15 years of this one, you will get good advantage, good benefit from there as well. So because you will see that वहां पर जो variety आई वो यहाँ भी कहीं ना कहीं हमें दिख रही है, क्योंकि PRMO is just 4 years old, तो बहुत पुराना नहीं है, तो आपको वो चीजें भी हेल्प करेंगी उन ऑब्जेक्टिव पैटर्न में जाने. So these are few points if you take care of in when you talk about particular questions. और अगर हम टॉपिक्स की तरफ मूव करें, जैसे मैंने आपसे कहा एरिया, पॉलिनोमियल छोटे लेवल से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं, 8th में देखा, 9th में किया, 10th में किया, 11th में you have quadratic, again the just extension of that, nothing different. तो सब कुछ वही है, डिफरेंट कुछ नहीं हो रहा. If you understand it with the help of graph, इससे आसान कुछ नहीं. And Amit sir mentioned 70% तक, 60 to 70% 3 टॉपिक से कवर होना है. नंबर थ्योरी, ज्योमेट्री, कॉम्बिनेटोरिक्स, इवन कॉम्बिनेटोरिक्स भी नहीं कहा, पीएनसी का, प्रोबेबिलिटी को छोड़ दिया उसमें से, उसको भी जोड़ो तो 5 नंबर और बढ़ जाएंगे. So just look into this segment. It's pretty easy. You have 120 days, although your midterm exams are coming in the month of November to December, but fine, you have ample time to prepare. Just plan that you have to give 3 hours every day for this examination. You will get it. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
Kama madam, one more point I would like to add. Apart from what Vivek sir has rightly said, even students have this misconception that as Mohit sir has already told you the pattern of the exam, there are 8 questions of 2 marks, 13 questions of 3 marks, and 9 questions of 5 marks. So it's not that these 5 marks questions are all tough. Sometimes even you will find 2-3 questions from 5 marks also very easy, whereas 3 mark questions will be very lengthy. So during the exam, it is very important to choose the right questions, whether they are easy or not, based on their confidence, not based on their marks.
And one more thing we can add here is, since we know now सिर्फ 120 दिन रह गए, 120 days, तो students generally they can allot an hour on daily basis and solve about, you can say, 10 to 15 questions from the previous year papers, especially the strategically chosen questions, as sir rightly said, Amit sir. So in this way एक pattern बन जाएगा उनका preparation का, and that will help them laterwards.
That's a very important point to note. And Mohit sir, on that note, I will also ask you another question which a student has been asking. Since we have discussed the preparation strategy, we have also talked about the topics here. Are there any theorems that students should definitely do, from the point of view of Iuqm? They should not miss those theorems?
Yeah, ma'am, plenty of geometry theorems are there. They have been studying these theorems in class 9th and 10th. Ptolemy's theorem is there, Apollonius theorem is there, plenty of theorems are there, and as sir initially said as well, they should remember these theorems because direct application from these theorems will be coming in the exams. If they just take up this year exam as well, there are plenty of theorems that are applied straight away. The regular theorems they are doing in their 9th and 10th syllabus of geometry.
I must say that जो बच्चे हमारे जो आप पूछ रहे बेटा कौन सी theorem, so I must say every theorem coming in your syllabus of 9th and 10th, whatever you have seen, please go through everything. And in addition, there are few more, be it geometry part or number theory part. Yes, you have to go through those one also. लेकिन ऊपर की building कब बनेगी? जब आप foundation create कर लोगे. So please go through all the theorems without skipping even a single one. So that will help you out. So एक थ्योरम और 2 थ्योरम का नाम नहीं चलेगा. Have to go through everything. So there is no shortcut for that. Yeah.
So Vivek sir, you have mentioned that now 120 days are there, left. So students should basically start preparing right now. But student Salinder wants to know that Aakash भी कुछ preparation में help करता है. Does Aakash give any kind of preparation for Iuqm?
Yes, for our own students, we have test series as well as study material. Even in TLP, we have some test series and study material available with this part, and they can visit to TLP website.
Thank you, sir. So students, if you are still wondering, as to why you should appear for Mathematical Olympiad, the next question will resolve your doubt. So Amit sir, needless to say, participating in Olympiads has infinite advantages. So what are these benefits? Why should students participate in Mathematical Olympiad? We also have a similar live question on the same, where Khushbu is asking, please tell us the Olympiad, advantages, Iuqm advantages. Why should we, appear for the same?
Definitely, madam. So Iupum exam, Mathematical Olympiad exam, has numerous advantages of attempting it. To name a few, first thing is Mathematical Olympiads will give the student to chance to improve their analytical and logical thinking skills, not only during the exam, also in the process of preparing for this exam. Second thing, as you rightly said in your introduction, that this gives students to represent the country at international level. So in the final stage of IMO, International Mathematical Olympiad, students can represent the country at international level. And third, whenever we are talking about these mathematical Olympiads, students who really aspire to get admissions into IITs, we know that JEE Advanced exam is one of the toughest exam in India, which will be conducted for 6 hours, both paper 1 and paper 2 on the same day. So students who really wants to aspire for JEE Advanced exam must compulsorily attempt this Iupum exam, because this gives a real-time experience of how to prepare for tough exams like JEE Advanced. And not only that, in general, any competitive exam, whenever it is being conducted, it is not just testing of knowledge of the child only. It is also about test the presence of mind of the student during that 3 hours. In difficult or under pressure, how the child or student can tackle difficult questions. What will be his examination strategy? Because these competitive exams, it looks like every question we know some or other part of it, but we need to be very careful and selective. It is not about starting the question, it is about finishing the question. Can you finish the question in the stipulated time or not? This is very, very important. So this gives an experience for them and to perform not only in Iupum exam but for the upcoming exams. So as a mathematics faculty, definitely I would request all the class 8th to 12th studying students to appear in this Iupum exam. Do not worry about the result, and even if you are having phobia with maths, please do attempt these exams to get rid of this maths phobia. And we have discussed already about the cutoffs of 8th to 11th and 12th. In fact, I will tell you, there are almost around 7,000 students have got merit certificate in Iupum last year, and the merit certificate cutoff was somewhere around 20 marks. So definitely, I would request all the students to try this exam without any fear.
And I will add on to this point, when you say merit certificate, certificate of merit, yes, it is equally confidence booster in whichever class you are, because getting these many marks in 2025 is a great achievement at this stage in this examination. I'm sure in that case you will definitely clear the examination even of JEE Main. So there is no such issue. It is giving you a different confidence. Secondly, when you talk about International Mathematical Olympiad, that is the last stage. If you have represented the country in that stage, remember, at international level, you get a different value. You get different benefits. Even MIT will give you a different value, will give you a weightage when you are trying to appear for MIT for a seat, when you have cleared this IMO. I'll give an example of Chirag Feller, who got gold medal in IOAA, that is Astronomy Olympiad. So he got benefit of this gold medal when he took admission in MIT as well. So this is really, really great when you talk about Mathematical Olympiad. The logical thinking, जो आपकी सोच को बदलता है ना, जो that's amazing.
And mathematics is actually the backbone of all the sciences. When you talk physics or chemistry, it is the backbone of everything, and it strengthens your concepts in every subject.
Yes.
And you will
Couldn't
fall,
agree more. Yeah.
yes, you will start falling in love with mathematics once you attempt these kind of exams.
Absolutely.
So we can say that Iuqm is must for all the mathematics fans out there, as well as for those with maths phobia. Maybe this is your chance to get rid of your fear, your phobia, and you never know. Maybe appearing in Iuqm may actually instill in you a love for mathematics. So moving on, let's take one more live question over here. So a student wants to know that he is planning for to give JE 2022, and is it advisable for him to give Iuqm? He loves maths and he has also qualified RMO in 2019 and Iuqm in 2020. Mohit sir.
Yeah, ma'am, definitely. Every JE aspirants must go through this exam because as Vivek sir earlier told us that this exam will be requiring a lot more of logic. So based on that logic, your JE advanced preparation actually strengthens. So even if he is not clearing the exam, that is not a concern. More important is how you are learning the exam. That is more important because that will help them in scoring more in JE advanced. Like sir said, we have Chirag Feller and many other toppers of JE advanced have actually gone through this process of Olympiads of Iupum.
So I think the other question which over here is from Sadid Siraj. He's asking, is this Iupum sort of lengthy or small, and how much time does it take? Time does it consume? And is this very high level, other grades, or just questions from the specific grades are asked in the question paper of Iupum?
I'm sure, Siraj, so far with this discussion, whatever we had in last 45 to 50 minutes, your doubts must have been cleared so far. I'm sure this question you asked a little early, but now it is clear. When you talk about the, yes, difficulty level, obviously, it's not that easy cake. Second, when you say अलग से कुछ करना है, time क्या है, किसी grade से specific है, we have mentioned it again and again. It has boundaries from every class, but nowhere in that particular domain. उस domain से बहुत सारी चीजें आपको मिलेंगी, ज्योमेट्री मिलेगी, अलजेब्रा मिलेगा, पॉलिनोमियल मिलेगा, अलग अलग क्लासेस से मिलेगा, पर आप कहो सिर्फ एक ही क्लास का है, नहीं. आप पूछ रहे हैं लेंदी, yes, 30 questions you have to attempt in 3 hours. You can understand that what kind of difficulty level it has. ये तो बेटा कुछ भी नहीं है. When you will be, if selected in all the stages and if you will be going for international mathematical level, तो वहाँ तो आपको 2 दिन मिलेंगे question solve करने के लिए. So definitely the question level is higher and you need more time. In JEE main, you get 25 questions of one subject, that is 75 questions in all for 3 hours. यहाँ आपको सिर्फ एक subject के लिए 30 questions के लिए 3 hours मिल रहे हैं. So yes, obviously the difficulty level is little higher. आपको time उसमें consume करना पड़ता है. तो I'm sure this is clear. Another thing, मैं एक चीज बार बार आपसे सुन रहा हूँ जो आपने बोला भी और स्टूडेंट्स तरफ से भी बात आती है. यहाँ पर I will add एक मैथ्स फोबिया वर्ड बार बार बीच में आता है कि हमें कहीं ना कहीं डर लगता है. तो मैं सिर्फ एक चीज बोलूंगा. It's not for the students only, even for the parents and every listener from our end, चाहे वो फैकल्टी हो या कुछ भी. फोबिया अपने आप किसी चीज से नहीं आ जाता, वो कहीं ना कहीं टाइम के साथ में अंदर बैठता है. सबसे बड़ा कारण क्वेरीज का रिजॉल्व ना होना है, जिसके कारण ये चीज एक कोने में बैठती चली जाती है. The way we ask, the way we handle the kids, वो चीज कहीं पर नुकसान करती है. अगर कोई मुझसे पूछेगा सर 2+2 या 2+2 में की बजाय 2×2 अगर आपने किया है या आपने प्लस से क्यों नहीं किया, and I will look at him just like, oh, क्या सवाल पूछ रहे हो. If I stare like that, he or she will never come back to me to ask any question, और उसके अंदर वो डाउट्स भरते चले जाएंगे. मैं सिर्फ एक चीज बोलूंगा, जितने प्यार से पेरेंट्स फैकल्टी बच्चे को समझा सकते हैं, वो उतना ही ज्यादा उस सब्जेक्ट के लिए उसका इंटरेस्ट बढ़ा सकते हैं. Here comes the point where student starts falling in love with the subject. So please, this is my humble request to even the seniors कि भाई आप इस चीज का ख्याल जरूर दें कि स्टूडेंट्स के डाउट्स, जो भी बच्चे को चीज समझ में नहीं आती ना, प्लीज क्लैरिफाई. पेरेंट्स ऑल्सो, इफ डू नॉट कंपेयर इट. PRMO में अगर कोई बच्चा दे भी रहा है और नहीं आ रहा है, प्लीज, इट्स नॉट दैट इजी जॉब. सबसे बड़ी बात है, यू अपीयर फॉर दिस एग्जामिनेशन. कहते हैं ना कि अपियर होना भी पहली इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. Yes, it's not like खाली हाथ चले जाएंगे, कुछ प्रिपरेशन करके जाएंगे. There are 120 days, you can definitely crack it.
Vivek sir, I totally agree with you. Sometimes, you know what, if we show confidence in the kids, they become confident on their own. So it's very important for the teachers and for the parents as well, that they should, you know, have that kind of belief and faith in the student. So they should actually motivate the student. You know, so this brings us actually to the next question. So a student Sia is saying that she's not good at maths, and you know, will she be able to clear the Iuqm Olympiad? Should she give this or she should not give this? Over to you, Amit sir.
Definitely, madam. Even if the student is not good at mathematics, I'll tell you, last year Iupum paper, there are very simple questions like based on area of trapezium, based on a number multiplied with an x number, what will be the least number so that this number will become perfect square. These are like basic logical reasoning questions or basic fundamentals on 8th, 9th, 10th topics. So if a student is confident at least in his or her NCERT syllabus, definitely they can attempt 4 to 5 questions. And especially when I talk about 8 questions which are of 2 marks, out of these 8 questions, easily 5 to 6 questions, majority of the children can attempt it. So definitely students should attempt this Iupum exam.
एंड मैम सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात सभी बच्चों के लिए है कि डिफिकल्ट वही चीज है जो आपको इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं लगती. So once you start preparing for the exam, it will become interesting and it will no more be difficult thing then.
Mohit sir, on the difficulty note, there is another question from Richa Mishra. She's saying, whenever I try to attempt previous year questions, I find it difficult to solve. So when and how should I use the solution? Should I directly look at the solution or not?
Ma'am, it actually differs from person to person. Everybody has a different perspective over it. तो मेरा ये मानना है कि बच्चा उसे पहली 2 बार में ट्राई जरूर दे, अगर वो क्वेश्चन नहीं निकल रहे, एंड कैटेगराइज कर ले. बिकॉज समटाइम्स बच्चे क्या करते हैं कि सारा पेपर इकट्ठा अटेम्प्ट करते हैं. तो दे शुड सिलेक्ट द टॉपिक्स फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो वो प्रिपेयर करने जा रहे हैं उन्हें पर्टिकुलर डे. दे शुड ट्राई द क्वेश्चन देमसेल्व्स फर्स्ट, क्योंकि कई बार हो जाता है कि इफ यू आर अटेम्प्टिंग 10 क्वेश्चंस देन 5 to 6 क्वेश्चंस यू आर एबल टू सॉल्व इवन इफ यू आर वीकर इन दोस पार्ट्स. सो पहले अपने आप ट्राई करें, एंड व्हेन यू फील लाइक यू आर नॉट एबल टू गेट द स्टार्ट, just look at the solution. Don't go through the entire solution. Just look at what kind of start it's given there, and then attempt the entire question again. Because if you go through the entire solution, what happens? अगर आपने एक भी स्टेप देख लिया, मैथ्स और फिजिक्स में ये मेरा मानना है, अगर आपने एक भी स्टेप देख लिया, आप अपनी सोच खत्म कर देते हैं. You don't think how you want to approach the question. You start thinking how the author wants you to approach the question. So that is why attempting independently becomes very important.
Sir, I also believe when you attempt independently, it also gives you confidence, you know, to, you know, you have that thing that, you know, you are confident, you want to improve, you want to get to the answer. But when you look at the solution, you know, that motivation is not there, I feel, you know, because you already know the answer. So, you know, that thing is not there. So another question we have, that is
just 1 minute, Kama ma'am. I will also add one point here. जैसे रिचा ने पूछा कि जब वो अटेम्प्ट करती हैं प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस और कहीं ना कहीं अटक जाती हैं, ठीक है. मोहित सर ने एक इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट बोला दैट आप पूरा का पूरा पेपर नहीं करना है. आपको पहले ये तो पता हो कि टॉपिक्स क्या आपको आते थे. I'm not sure aware of the class of Richa. Say for example, she is in 9th standard. ठीक है. And if she takes the first question that's from combinatorics and she has never read that topic, obviously she would get stuck undoubtedly. तो पहले तो ये पता होना जरूरी है कि सेलेक्टिव होना. जैसे सर ने बोला कि आप पहले ये देखो कौन से करने हैं. I will say in the chat box we have put a link over there so that they can see on website कि भाई ये out of 30 questions, these were from topic A, these were from topic B, these are from topic C. Now if she has to start with topic C, पहले देखो कौन कौन से नंबर पर वो क्वेश्चंस हैं, एंड लेट्स प्लान दोस क्वेश्चंस एंड फॉलो द मेथड. एज सर सेड, पहले एक तो ट्रायल खुद दो, नहीं होने केस में समझो, पढ़ो, एंड देन अगेन ट्राई दैट क्वेश्चन आफ्टर 2 days, ताकि पता चले कुछ याद भी रहा, कुछ समझ भी आया था कि उस समय पढ़ के ओके सब कुछ हो गया और फिर भूल गए. So it is again equally important for the students. So this is another point from my end.
And one more point, like Mohit sir has rightly said, not to look at the complete solution. Look at step by step. This is very, very important. Second point, generally students, what they do often mistake is, once they look at the solution, they feel like, yes, now I have understood, they will leave it. But I would suggest that after 2 days or 3 days, again, they should resolve that question.
Absolutely.
Check that whether they have really understood it or not.
So that is a very good point, and they should actually, after a few days, because sometimes, doing the same thing after a few days, that helps in retention also. Because एक दिन पढ़ा, 2 दिन पढ़ा, वो शायद हम भूल जाते हैं, because human brain is like that. But अगर हम अपने आप को टेस्ट करें after some days, this helps in retention a lot, helps to memorize it. So they should definitely do that. So this brings us to the next question. Mohit sir, Shubhradeep is asking how to improve my score from 24 to 50 or above in Iuqm.
Ma'am, you actually started the seminar with the same thing only. Practice is the only answer. Practice makes a man perfect as well as the mathematics perfect. So they need to practice it a lot, because the strategy we have discussed just now as well, it applies everywhere, not only in Iupum Olympiads, but also in JEE Advanced as well as NEET as well, in medical as well. Everywhere the strategy works. So practice
just
is
to add on to this confidence of the student, I will say he has to start from 24 and has to move to 50. So far we were talking to all and we were saying you have to start preparation now if you have not started yet. So many others are at 0. You are already at 24. So all the best. You can definitely move on, and the practice is the only strategy. Absolutely.
So if you are at 0, then you need to start right now. And if you're already at 24, then you just need to, you will anyway you have 120 days left, you will easily get to 50. So moving on, another question which we have over here, since we were discussing about the syllabus and other things, and that at Aakash, we also prepare for Iuqm for our own students. So is Aakash module enough, or students need to, as you have mentioned, books and the previous year paper, they should also go for that? Amit sir?
So at Aakash, madam, for our own students, we are giving OCAPs and we are conducting the test series. So definitely these materials, these assignments, students need to solve along with our modules. And we have our expert team wherein they are giving the complete what you call range of questions or quality, you may say, or level of questions which are incorporated in these assignments. So if students are focusing in these assignments, definitely they can qualify.
So thank you, sir. I think, there is one student who's actually thinking very forward over here. So Satvika is asking, can we directly write IMO without attempting Iuqm? Vivek sir?
You can write INMO if you are in the merit list of last year. INMO, that is Indian National Mathematical Olympiad. That can be given, but not the last stage IM.
So I think, Satvika, your answer is, already resolved by Vivek sir. So this brings us to the end of today's session, and it is time to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Vivek sir, Amit sir, Mohit sir, for joining us for today's webinar and sharing invaluable insights regarding the Iuqm with our students.
Thank you, ma'am, and all the best to all the students. And I will say registrations are starting on 15th of September. You have sufficient time for the examination, which is on 9th of January. You can do it. Go with this slogan, I can, I will. Yes, all the best.
Thank you, Kama madam, and all the best to all the students. Leave the maths phobia and start preparing for Iuqm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And absolutely enough said by everyone else as well. So all the best for the upcoming exam, and hope you all will do well. And after this seminar, this will certainly help you improving certain points that were actually worrying you till date.
So before we conclude the session, once again, I will say, whether you are a mathematics fan or whether you have mathematics phobia, please do write Iuqm. It is a great exam and a great platform for you to, understand the kind of competition level which it is going to offer you. And it will also prepare you for the future competitive exams such as JEE Main and Advanced. So before we conclude, I would like to thank everyone for attending this session and particularly for all the great questions. We hope you found today's session very informative and useful. Also, as you are aware, JEE Advanced is getting closer with each passing day. It will be conducted on October 3. Hence, our upcoming webinar in the Aakash Live webinar series is on tips for JEE Advanced. To sign up for the next webinar, you can click on the links in the description box below, or you can visit aakash.ac.in/webinars. So thank you again. Have a great evening. And remember, practice makes mathematics perfect. So keep practicing, okay? So goodbye and see you next Saturday.